Hello everybody and welcome back to Valecast, brought to you by Motive every single week. My name is Sybil and as usual I'm joined by Callum. Say hello Callum.
Hello, Sybil. How are we?
Yeah, not too bad. Well, considering, we're just about to get into it. We've had a couple of fixtures since the last Valecast and they've probably not went our way entirely, but obviously we did speak in the last Valecast about how this is some real tough opposition that we're up against, and obviously it probably didn't go the way we expected. We played on the Saturday against Rothes. It was actually quite a tight game, from what I read online. Callum, why don't you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. Obviously, I mean, any cup game, ultimately, if you don't come through that, then it's obviously a disappointing result, and that's what it looks like on paper, and obviously was. The boys put in a hell of a shift, and gave Rothes a couple of wee scares there as well, I think, and particularly coming back in, went a goal up, and which is great. 3-1 at half time. Came back and got second goal from the penalty spot, really setting up a tasty last wee quarter of the game
Yeah, did
there.
we have them at 3-2
And
as well at a point?
yeah, 3-2 then. So I say
Shortly
3-1 at
up in the
half
second
time.
half. Yeah.
Yeah, got the pen, 3-2, and yeah, it gives you every chance. You can imagine, Big Innes going up front again, getting the third goal in injury time or something, taking the pens. But unfortunately, Rothes went up the other end, and yeah, the old sucker punch goal went in after we had that wee bounce. So yeah, 4-2. But I mean, we've talked about Rothes a number of times, on Valecast this year, and obviously this is and always will be a show about the Vale. And that's where our allegiances lie 100%. But you got to give props to the guys at Rothes. They've been doing a hell of a job over the last couple of years, and we talked about that kind of long unbeaten run that they had. They obviously took points off of Fraserburgh, first team to inflict a league defeat on Fraserburgh this year. So they're obviously doing something right up there, and we knew coming into it that it would be a hell of a tough game. Couple injuries as well, that never helps. Obviously, a bit of disruption there. But yeah, the boys gave a very good account of themselves. Playing against a team that is going to most likely finish in the top two, top three of the league, I would say. So yeah, it's just unfortunate when you get a team like that in the first round. You kind of could have been a good cup final maybe, but it's just the way it goes, isn't it? Someone's got to go through and someone's got to go out, and unfortunately, it just wasn't our day in the end. So, but a hell of a good performance nonetheless.
Well, I think we all knew that was going to be a tough test for the lads, and the coaching staff. And we did kind of speak about the lead up to Rothes, and that was probably, of the two fixtures we're going to talk about, that would probably be the one that, if we could at least put a decent performance in against them, and really put them up against the wall or whatever. And that would be a sure sign of progress. That we could give what sort of one of the top sides in the league that have already sort of won silverware and are playing with a lot of confidence. That if we can give them a game, then we can give anybody a game really. And yeah, I mean it's just the way the cups. Sometimes it doesn't go your way. But then later in the week, we'd play Huntly. Yesterday, last night, I believe, and it wouldn't go our way again, right? Tell us a wee bit about that, Cam.
Yeah, so I think of the two games, the Huntley one was probably the one that, if we were going to win one of them, it would have probably been the Huntley one. That's no disrespect to Huntley at all.
Week, yeah.
But obviously, when we played them in the league at Princess Royal Park, it was a 3-each draw, I think it was in the end, so quite a thrilling game. Again, that kind of run of injuries is extended into midweek as well there. So we had a couple of young lads. I think it was about 3 young lads on the bench from the youth setup, which is great. Obviously, we want to promote that, but it was a wee bit maybe earlier than we'd like to have these boys coming up and getting first team experience. So that's as it was. And Nathan Ross picked up a wee injury before kickoff as well. Had to be replaced on the bench by Dane, who hadn't initially been named among the subs. So maybe wasn't quite at his 100% fitness either. So yeah, it was a tough game to go into. Huntley have had a couple of changes since we last played them. I think in goal in particular, where they've got Tom Ritchie on loan from Aberdeen, between the sticks. So yeah, again a tight game, 0-0 at half time last night, and both sides had a couple of chances, and I think one of the highlights from covering the Twitter feed last night was it was a booking for Jamie Tinnock after about 26 minutes or something. That was about it in terms of the first half highlights. Came out, knowing again it'd be a tight second half, and Unfortunately, Huntly took the lead quite early on in the second half. I think it was kind of the 47th, 48th minute that they got the opening goal. We then obviously kind of looked to get back into it, a few chances of our own, pushing towards the end. 87th, 88th minute, Huntly got the second. So at that stage, you can imagine that the Biggins probably has been sent up top to try and grab the equaliser.
Yeah, you'd imagine.
Cup game, you don't settle for a 1-0 in a cup game, so they might as well throw everything at it. And Huntly get the second goal just to wrap it up before full time. So two cup exits, unfortunately, during this week. But we get every chance to put that right this weekend as we're back to league duty, as we have Fort William coming to town. So it gives us a good chance to get a bit of confidence back again. Obviously, Fort William are no mugs. I'm not going into this saying it's going to be 8-0 the Vale or anything like that. We have to give total respect to the opposition, and Craig will have the boys up for this one just as much as if we were in a cup final against Fraserburgh or something like that. So the boys will be keen to impress. I think it's a run of 3 defeats now across the league and cup, so they'll be desperate to put that right, and I'm sure they'll put in the performance to do that. Looking forward to hopefully putting things right this weekend.
I think so. And no disrespect to Fort William, but I don't think you could really ask for a better bounce game. Obviously, they're having a really difficult season, and we've got to look at it from a Vale perspective and see that as an opportunity to really put in a good performance and get a lift from it, and obviously that's quite brutal to Fort William. They are still looking for a win this season in the league, still winless, and obviously we can't really let that happen against us. I mean, we've got some stuff to put right, and yeah, I mean, I think if you were going to pick a bounce game, it would probably be this. I know there's a lot.
That's the thing. I mean, it's not to be taken for granted, though. A game of football, any team can pick up the win, and I'm
Absolutely.
sure, having watched quite a lot for William this year actually, and highlights, their performances have been very, very strong. And I think they have kind of gone into even 2-0 up in some games, and then it's kind of not gone their way in the second half or what have you. But Fort William will pick up a win or two this year, I'm sure. I think Craig's maybe said it before. You just don't want it to be you. I think Kev said it a couple of weeks back. You just don't want it to be you. So, so it's very important, as I say, that the boys will go in fully prepped as always. Craig and Mo will have the guys up for it. Anything less than 100% just isn't accepted. Under their regime, that's for sure. So it's really important the boys are firing on all cylinders at the weekend, and gives them a chance just to bring back the confidence that we saw, not that long ago. I think performance-wise, they're still playing really, really well. It's not a case of tools being downed or, the performances just aren't there or whatever. I think, performances across the team, and I saw that in the Fort Martin game. The result makes it look like it was maybe a bit of a canter for Martin, but it was anything but. The performance the boys put in was really, really strong. You can see that it's becoming a team. It's not saying it wasn't, but it's a very strong team that's in place there, playing for each other, playing for the shirt, supporting each other through the game. I was paying particular attention to kind of the back four and Sean in that game, and the communication levels is really, really good. Talking to each other through the game, everybody knows where everybody is, which is really important. Even when we go a couple of goals down, the heads don't go down. The communication is still really strong. A few of the lads who were maybe a wee bit quieter at the start of the season, just as they were getting used to life at the Vale and playing with the rest of the guys, have become big characters, and that's really important to have. So that's just over the halfway mark now in terms of the entire campaign. This is us kind of turning the corner now in the league. So Fort William being that kind of final game of round one, if you like, of the league. We've still got Fraserburgh, the home game against Fraserburgh. We're still awaiting the date on that one to be rescheduled, but aside from that, that means we'll have played everybody in the league now. So it's, I think going into part two of the season, we've got every optimism of finishing strongly. We've seen, we weren't, we were sitting in 8th position just a few weeks back now, and the boys will be desperate to get back up there, and very doable. A good result this weekend will certainly help with that. And I think at the start of the season, we would have certainly taken, 8th, fighting for 7th possibly. We would have been pretty happy with that. When you look at the longer term plan that Craig's got in place to try and break into that top 6, top 5 within the next couple of years, finishing not far away from there in year one is pretty good. So yeah, we go into that with the confidence of putting in results, putting in performances. And as I say, I don't think the results have quite matched the performance level the last few weeks. As I say, on paper, 3 defeats in a row doesn't look great, but performance levels have been really, really good, and I think that's a big positive to take away from it. So whatever's happening on the training pitch, it's going really well on the pitch. As I say, the results just haven't quite gone our way, but that last 3 games has been against top opposition. I would include Huntley in that as well. 3 tough games. So yeah, chance to put that right this weekend against Fort William, because it starts again the week after that with a tough trip to Barora. Which is never an easy place to go at any point in time, and they're obviously fighting to chuck themselves back up the top of the league as well. So we know again that will be extremely tough. So it makes Saturday's game, very important to set the confidence level for the next part of the season.
I think so as well, and I think when you kind of cast your memory back to the beginning of our season, that we were putting in performances and results weren't going away, and I feel like that's kind of went for the last 3 games. That's possibly it's because the results the performances were never not there for the Vale. It's always like sort of just things that never went for us, and then when the results tipped and we just went on a run, and the quality was shown all the time, and I don't really think that quality's went away. And obviously the boys they pinned themselves on the league table as the sort of the best of the rest, and from that sort of top. The teams that are chasing the title, etc., and I think they'll obviously be keen to get back there. And the fact that it's not that performances haven't really just disappeared and heads aren't dropped, and everybody's obviously still focused and rectifying the form as they were at the beginning of the season. That we are entering this sort of the second half, and if we could finish the season as sort of the best of the rest, almost positioned as the favourites to break into that top sort of 6 or 5 teams, then from year one, as in you said, first season, that's ideally that is ticked boxes on, right, achieve this, okay, and then you get a full pre-season and a full transfer window. Whereas starting this project, we'd obviously had with all the COVID, it's just difficult to start a brand new project in that manner. Yeah. Whereas now,
and we've still got players to come back as well that will feel like new signings.
Exactly,
I know it's a bit of a cliche, but we've had players. It was great to see Aaron Hamilton back in the squad for the Fermartin game. He's been out for quite a while with injury. Obviously, Harry Noble is battling his way back. After having surgery. Kev Adams is out long term as well. A few others as well that are either injured or unavailable at the moment. So there's a good chunk of the squad that's just not available to Craig at the moment. And when they boys come back, that is going to give us a good bounce as well. But I think the squad that we've got at the moment, if you look at the team lines from the last couple of games, it's been, again, pretty consistent. Again, what we were saying to Ennis the other week, we can kind of almost guess what the starting 11 is going to be at the moment, which is great. And there's still quality on the bench there to push them all the way. You see even with Dane being out the last couple of games from the starting lineup, young Max Stewart's been wearing that number 9 and putting in a hell of a good shift, so it's good that there's good cover. Oh, absolutely.
To step into it, obviously, Dane's been having a positive, minus his injuries and his knocks and stuff like that, and that's to be expected, obviously, from what he's coming back from, but it's a big ask to step, because Dane's pretty much performed every time he's been called, virtually almost every time he's been called upon, hasn't he? Dane has either been extremely near the mark or won us the game or given us a point or whatever.
Absolutely.
And so credit to the young lad for putting on that number 9 shirt and
absolutely. I think the young lads across the board this season have been so important to the club and being able to set. I mean, we had Innes on a couple of weeks ago, and I don't even think of him as a young lad because he has been a rock at that centre defensive unit, and he's still, not even 20 yet, I don't think. So, to come in and just assume that position so quickly and look so comfortable at this level. James Connolly's is still a youngster as well, and again, you'd think that these two have been playing together for years. Matt Jameson on the wings. Sam Robertson's slightly older than that now, but again, he's another one that's out injured.
Still a youngster, Sam.
Still got. Yeah, he's not like us, that's for sure. So, backed up with the experience that's there, and people like obviously Ross Aitken feels like he's been around for about 20 years, and he's still in his early 20s himself. Robbie Allen's got that experience. Grant Noble's got that experience. Obviously, Dane at the top there as well. These experienced lads are really helping the young lads settle in. And I think the young lads are taking real inspiration from that as well. To have players that have been involved at the Vale now for a good few seasons, folk like Kyle Willocks as well, who's been playing left back of late, having that kind of mix of experience, particularly if we look at the back four, you've got two very Vale experienced players in Ross Aitken and Kyle Willocks on the flanks, and then you've got James Connolly and Innes Mackay in the middle. That has really worked. I really like what I see at that back line. And Sean, who's come back into Highland League football after spending a bit of time in the junior ranks, has looked very, very comfortable as well, and put in some top performances. I think a bit of an unsung hero really this season. And even when the scoreline hasn't looked great on paper, in reality it could have been a hell of a lot more. Without Sean's performance, so I think there's a lot to be positive about. I think if we were to be where we are now, looking at the start of the season, I think we would have been pretty happy with that return. I know Craig,
100%.
or I think it was Kev, when Kev came on, obviously talked about the Cups a wee bit, and ideally you want to maybe progress a wee bit further in like the Scottish Cup or whatever, but that was a hell of a tough fixture to get in the first round anyway. So I think looking where we're at now, we'd be pretty happy where we are. I say if we can jump back into 8th position again, that makes it even better. So roll on the second half of the season.
Absolutely. That's going to do us for this week. Thanks very much for joining me, Callum. And get yourselves along to watch your Fort William game. Obviously, we're all expecting a sort of bounce and a big performance, and it's good we're in a position to sort of expect that from the lads, and and
the more support the better. That's the thing. I mean, we've
absolutely.
got a hospitality lounge that looks as though it's going to be booming this weekend, which is great. I know we spoke about that last week. That really appreciate all that support. It might not seem much, but every extra person in a hospitality lounge makes such a difference at this level. Really. Absolutely. And, again, hopefully a good crowd. We've had a fantastic crowd of late, and not just in numbers, but, actually interacting with the boys, really roaring them on. There's nothing worse than having 500 people at a ground and nobody saying anything. I'd rather have 100 people really roaring them on. So come on down. It'll be a great weekend of football. If anybody's interested in getting involved with the club, I know we've put out a wee appeal on social media a few weeks back now. If anybody can give their time, either like some match day stewarding or selling raffle tickets or whatever you can do on the day, even if it's for an hour, what a difference that makes to us. And obviously, depending on what you do, then you can discount the price of your ticket for getting in as well if you're giving us a hand. So
exactly.
If anybody's interested, I'll be around on Saturday, so feel free just to call me, or anybody that's on committees or board or anything like that. Have a chat and find out a bit more about how you can get involved. But hopefully we'll have a great atmosphere on Saturday to look forward to.
Absolutely, and to join and be part of this great project, it's honestly, you won't regret it. But that is going to do us for this week, and if you could please like and subscribe the video, it really does help support Valecast, and obviously we'll be here to bring you our weekly show next week, and hopefully have a good result to talk about. But until then, cheery bye.